Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you, as always, for taking the time to check out today's live stream. For today's live stream, we're going to be talking about somewhat of a different topic outside of discussing things related to, fitness and nutrition. What we're going to sort of go into today is talking more about your goals and sort of adjusting those goals periodically. So that's going to be the main topic for today. So before we get started, I do want to mention my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. It is up on the top portion of your screen. You can just put in that link and it'll take you straight to my website where you'll find all kinds of information as it relates to online fitness coaching, as well as some free resources, free information, such as checking out my free fitness blog. Every new live stream is posted on the homepage on my website, so you can check that out. There is also a way for you can where you can schedule a consultation call with me. When you click the button at the top of the screen that says join the team, it'll take you to a top form where you'll basically explain why you're interested in online coaching. And once you get that form filled out, I will contact you and we'll get a consultation call scheduled. If you have any questions about anything on my website, feel free to let me know. I do have information on a little bit of the structure of online coaching on there. Um, and if you click the hamburger button at the top right corner, which is the three lines, you can click on that. And the first option it'll give you where it'll explain a little bit about online coaching and sort of go through some of the different aspects of it, whether, we're talking about tracking our workouts, how you'll get access to workouts and things of that nature. It's a general, sort of overview of how online coaching works. Of course, you can ask me questions on that if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that. Um, but with all that being said, guys, again, I just wanted to mention that so that you know that that's available to you. Ton of great information on there. So let's go ahead and get started by talking about today's topic, which is reflecting and adjusting on your fitness goals periodically. So we're going to be discussing a wide range of different topics when it comes to talking about our fitness goals. So what we're going to talk about in general is setting a routine for regular self-assessments, recognizing when to adjust expectations, smart goals for greater success, and strategies for staying motivated and accountable or having more accountability. So these are some of the points that we're going to discuss today. There's a few other points that I will touch on as well outside of those, so keep that in mind. But again, our main focus today is talking about goals. And I know this topic may not seem as exciting as some other topics, like when we're talking about workouts and nutrition, but you cannot achieve any sort of goal or achieve anything, when it relates to a fitness or nutrition goal without having a proper, roadmap on getting there, a proper, sort of blueprint in place on how you're going to accomplish that goal. Even though this is one of the most boring aspects that comes with, the fitness and nutrition side of things, it's important to have this and to know how to adjust it as your situation changes. So why reflecting and adjustment matter and why reflection and adjustment matter. Reflecting on and adjusting goals periodically is essential to long-term success, especially in a journey like weightlifting. While setting a goal is the first step, progress is rarely linear. Life, physical limitations, and unexpected challenges often change our pace, and goals may start feeling out of reach or misaligned with what we really want. So, it's very important to be flexible with your goals. And we're going to discuss a little bit further about, defining those goals, like when we're talking about SMART goals. And I've talked about SMART goals many times, but it's extremely important to really know that you have a goal that's going to be clearly defined and a goal that can be adaptable to your situation. So just keep in mind that progress is never linear and that you're going to have to make changes down the line if you feel like, you're reaching a plateau. So setting a routine for regular self-assessments. So it's very important to sort of monitor the progress that you're doing throughout the duration of your fitness journey, or if you're focusing on a nutrition-based goal. So you want to track progress, of course, monitor growth and achievements over time. It's very important to, be aware of your metrics, when it comes to, whether you're trying to reach a, sort of weight gain goal or weight loss goal. Of course, when we're talking about weight gain, we're more talking about, the muscle, gaining muscle and that aspect of things. So it's important to be aware of the various metrics and to be aware of, the weights that you're lifting, the sets that you're, recording, as well as the rest that you do as well between those sets. All of these play an important role and give you a general sort of view of how you're progressing through your plan. So, one reason why a lot of people, don't really see adequate results, or people that go to the gym maybe regularly and they don't see adequate results, a lot of that has to do with not tracking progress. I see this all the time with people at the gym where they don't track any progress. They just kind of go in there and they exercise and that's it. And, it's fine to exercise. There's nothing wrong with that. But a lot of people really complain that they're not reaching their goals. And that's why, because they're not clearly following a plan. They don't have a plan in place. They're not tracking their progress. You can't just go into, doing a workout and can do the same thing over and over every week and expect it to change. There's adaptations that you got to do. You have to, focus on progressive overload. You got to change your intensity every now and then. You have to, maybe include a little bit more cardio in your routine. Maybe nutrition is something that you're lacking. You still have to track nutrition as well. It's the same aspect where, like, when tracking nutrition, that's going to, once you get all that data over an extended period of time, you'll be able to make changes. But if you're not tracking that nutrition, you're not going to know where you're falling or you're stumbling when you're trying to get to your goal. And that's the big problem that a lot of people have, is that they fail to track any of their workouts, their nutrition. That's why you're not reaching your goal, because you are not monitoring these things. These things are important in order to see any progress or growth. It's very important to identify your strengths and areas for improvement, recognizing what's working and where to focus more effort. Again, this plays into the same aspect of tracking progress. The more that you track that progress, the more you're going to notice trends, and what you're going to see is your strengths and weaknesses. For example, with certain workouts, or, maybe with nutrition as well, there may be certain things that you lack in. You may be weaker in a specific exercise, versus, being stronger in another, or you may be struggling to increase your intake, say in a specific nutrient. Maybe you're struggling to increase your protein intake, carb intake, anything of that sort, and you don't understand what you need to do. When you have the data and when you're tracking that, you're going to have a clear viewpoint on, okay, what needs to be changed, whether you're reaching your goal or not, your daily goal in particular, on reaching the overall larger goal that you're pursuing. So just keep that in mind. Again, it plays the same role in things. Stay aligned with goals. So keep goals relevant and realistic as situations change. This is the main sort of point that we're going to sort of go over today, is really, of course, making goals work for you. It's very important to really change the situation, adjust goals as, your situation changes. Even though we may be at a goal where we're focusing on, we've set a goal maybe a couple months back, and we've come to a point to where we've maybe a medical situation has happened, maybe we've kind of just hit a plateau in our routine and we're just sort of struggling. There may be different barriers. It could be any kind of barrier like that. So whenever you have that situation happen, even though you're tracking and even though you're consistently doing what you need to do, those things are going to happen. It's just a part of the process. Like, for example, like with me, I've had points where I've injured myself in workouts, and I have to adapt. I have to change what I'm doing, if I don't want to, sort of go further back in my progression. So I have to make changes to my goal at that time because my situation has changed. So it's very important to take into consideration where you're at. Another thing too, increase your motivation and accountability. Regular reflection encourages continuous effort and responsibility. Holding yourself accountable is a really important aspect of things. And I know this for a fact. This is something that, of course, something that I help with my clients is accountability, but just something that I have to do myself as, somebody who has his own particular, goals. And I've worked with coaches too before. I've had coaches that have helped me, whether it be the business side of things to, give me accountability. We all need that. We all need some form of accountability. And if you don't have anybody coaching you, or anything of that sort, it's important to really hold yourself accountable for the results you're getting. If you feel like you're falling behind and you feel like, you could just kind of really weak in specific areas, you have to own up to that, that you failed in that aspect of things. Um, you really have to just admit to that. The more that you admit to that and the more that you really, own your failures, the more that you can overcome those. It becomes easier to overcome those when you hold yourself accountable more for what you're doing. Because if you're not seeing the results that you want, and this is the same thing with me. Like, this is something I have to do myself, you know, and I know this is outside of the fitness realm of things, but as, having my own business, what the results that I get is from me. If I don't get any clients, that's something that I have to, it's my fault. If I'm not getting clients, then there's something that I'm lacking in a specific area. So I have to own up to that. If I'm not getting a certain amount of clients, okay, maybe I need to change my approach. It works in that way as well. So when we're talking about a fitness goal, it's the same way. If we're not getting results in a specific, part of our fitness journey, then maybe it's time that we need to change our approach and what we're doing. And this too, this is something that this is something too connected when I'm talking about my online fitness program, my clients, their program changes periodically. The reason being is that, we don't want our muscles to adapt. And that's kind of the same aspect of things. You don't want to get stagnant. It's very important not to get stagnant, and you want to continuously challenge yourself and adapt to new challenges. So that's very important to keep in mind. Accountability is very important. The more that you hold yourself accountable, the more that you are going to be able to, overcome those obstacles. It's just a fact. And I know that from, personal experience that, whatever results I get, you know, is my doing. It's something that I'm lacking in. And that's the same for you. If you're lacking results in a certain area, you have to hold yourself accountable in that way. And you have to ask yourself, what is something that I need to improve? So, recognizing when to adjust expectations. So, again, we're sort of expanding on this topic here of, making those adjustments when we have, maybe particular setbacks or roadblocks that, sort of hinder us from reaching our overall larger goal. So plateaus are slowed progress. If progress stalls despite consistent effort, consider revising your timeline or approach, adjusting for gradual progress instead of immediate results to stay motivated. Now, this is something that I've experienced in my own personal, sort of fitness journey myself. Before I actually become a personal trainer, I went through many different plateaus when I got started. It was like after about 6 months, whenever I was doing my own personal workout routine, that I sort of felt like I hit a plateau and I wasn't really seeing results. And one of the things I always told myself whenever that would happen is I would try to focus on reframing my mindset, like telling myself, well, if I just stop and I just give up, then I'm not going to see any results. But if I just keep going and I keep trying, I'm going to see some form of results. It may not be as quick as I want it, but I'm going to see some form of results. So that's what I would always tell myself is that if I stop, there's no progress that's going to happen. But if I keep going, there's going to be some form of progress. And that's the way that I like to see it. So if you just feel like giving up, if you give up, you're not going to see results anyways. But if you keep going and keep trying, no matter how much effort you put in, you're going to get some form of results. So it's better just to keep going, just to keep, pushing on. Yes, you may need to make a few minor changes if you want to really reach that particular goal. But as long as you're focusing on progression and you're focusing on, you know, making changes and really trying to adapt to what's coming your way, then you're going to get those results. Life changes impacting routine. So new responsibilities or time constraints. Adapt goals to fit your current lifestyle. Opt for shorter workouts or reduce frequency if necessary. If you have, a situation where, your life has become really busy, it's very easy for you to really condense your workouts. You can separate your workouts in various different ways. This is something that I do mention to my clients as well, because some of my clients do have busy schedules. And one thing I try to do is, tell them that it's okay if there's limitations. If you have any time constraints, there's ways that I can work around that and give you a plan that's still going to, give you a well-rounded routine, but that's a little bit more condensed to where you can get everything you need done. So you can still do that. You don't have to have an extremely long workout to do that. You just have to, sort of learn how to manage your time wisely. But things like that can be condensed. You can have a time where you condense those workouts, and then maybe you get to a time where you're comfortable with doing a little bit longer workouts. Then you can transition back to that. But just learn how to adapt to those lifestyle changes. Don't just completely abandon your workout routine just because you have time constraints. Find various ways that you can include that in your overall routine. Physical limitations or injuries. Injuries may require a temporary shift in focus, such as flexibility and recovery. Adjust expectations to prioritize safe, steadily, steady handling, healing over intense training. So again, this is something that I've experienced myself. A lot of these limitations I've pretty much experienced myself, and I can tell you for a fact that you can overcome these. So physical injuries, like I've mentioned, I've injured myself before. Now, it's very important, of course, that you be cautious if you do get an injury and you try to continue with your workouts. However, I've still worked out even though I've had a minor injury. Now, of course, if you have a situation where you can't do specific things, of course, you need to take time to, sort of rest and to recover. But what matters is that you still, incorporate small exercise into your routine. You don't have to do your normal routine, but if you're having, having to sort of substitute it with something else that's still, giving you an active lifestyle, then do that. But just learn how to adapt when you have those limitations that arise. I've had those happen before, and I've had to make changes. I've had to maybe lower my weight. I've had to focus more on body weight. There's different things you can do to adjust, when you have those sort of limitations that happen. It's possible. Again, I've experienced it. I've injured my wrist before, and that was a pain. Like it was a struggle trying to get through workouts with that. But what I had to do is I had to focus on lighter weights, focus on, you know, anything that wasn't placing as much of an emphasis on my wrist, and really just being aware of what I'm doing, and focusing on my form and things of that nature. So you can make adjustments when those sort of things happen. It's just important to be safe. And if you need time to recover, that's totally fine. It's just learning how to adapt when these things that we don't expect happen. So SMART goals for greater success. Again, the SMART goals I've talked about before, but these are very important to keep in mind so that you know how to sort of define your goals clearly to where you can reach them more effectively. And again, this is something that you can review. You can sit down and sort of write down specifically the type of goal that you want to achieve, and then make changes to it periodically as you need to. So goals should be clear and precise, leaving no room for ambiguity. Rather than saying I want to get fit, a specific goal would be I want to run a 5K. This clarity helps you understand exactly what you are working towards, making it easier to focus your efforts and stay committed. Having measurable goals allows you to track progress and see improvements over time. For example, if your goal is to increase your push-ups from 10 to 20, you count your repetitions and see when you're making strides. So you're creating a measurable goal. You're having a clear, number tied to that goal. You're clearly defining that goal on what you want to accomplish. That sort of gives you an example. So you want to have a goal that's measurable, that you can achieve within a specific amount of time. And the more that you're clear and precise on that goal, the more it's going to help you, focus on achieving that specific goal. So this is a continuation of talking about SMART goals. So setting realistic goals is essential for maintaining motivation and avoiding burnout. If you set a goal to lift twice your body weight in a month without prior training, it may not be realistic and could lead to injury. Be realistic. With your current lifestyle or life situation, put that into consideration when you're setting a goal. It's very important to have it to be realistic as well. Goals should align with your personal desires and needs. If your aim is cardiovascular health, for instance, running or cycling goals may be more relevant than lifting heavy weights. Again, this is going to making that goal more relevant to what you're focusing on. Are you focusing more on weight loss? Are you focusing more on muscle gain? Are you focusing more on improving your performance? Are you focusing on, bettering your overall health? So your goal, what you align your goal with is going to change your workouts as well as your nutrition and things of that nature. Every person, if they're focusing on fat loss, they're going to do a whole different routine versus somebody who's focusing on muscle gain. So make sure that you align, those desires and needs with your particular goal that you're trying to accomplish. Strategies for staying motivated and accountable. So again, monitoring your progress keeps you motivated by showing how far you've come. Use fitness apps, journals, or even simple checklists to log workouts, weight changes, or performance improvements. This is something that I do myself as well. Um, and of course, my clients do it themselves as well. It gives you a good, sort of guide on your progress. And it also allows you to see when you need to make changes. Like, for example, when I go to the gym, I set up a note. I usually use notes on my phone, and I'll set up a graph of the sets and reps I perform as well as like the weight that I'm lifting that particular day. And I do that every single day that I work out so that I can go back and I can look like at a graph from a week from before, and I can see what I lifted that week, what I did as far as my reps that week, how many sets I did. And I'm able to sort of look at that and see, okay, I can make changes here, maybe increase this weight just a little bit, or maybe increase my set or not, excuse me, increase my reps just a little bit more to where I'm sort of integrating that progressive overload. And again, I wouldn't be able to know that if I didn't track that. Like if I was just going about going to the gym and I had no idea what I was doing with any of the workouts that I chose or any of the sets and reps I did, there's no way I would be able to know how to progress. So it's important to keep a track of that. Keep a track of that weight you're lifting, you know, the intensity, whether you're reaching your targeted reps, and whether you're staying in the proper sets range as well, and whether you're getting proper rest. If you cut your rest short, you may not be able to get optimal reps in your workout. So it's important to sort of be aware of those things as well. Recognizing small victories reinforces positive behavior. Celebrate when you hit a milestone like completing your first month of consistent workouts or achieving personal best in the gym. It's important to be aware of these things. Like, for example, with me, I set a personal best a couple weeks ago when I did a chest press, and it was that I was lifting. I would have to go back and look at it again, but I know that it was more than I had lifted before. And I believe I was doing a chest press of 175 with doing 8 reps, I believe is what it was. It was more than I was doing before. But that was the heaviest that I had done a chest press and being able to do it at those amount of reps. So that's a personal best that I made. Recognizing those particular sort of accomplishments are important too, and it helps to keep you motivated and focused on trying to reach that next personal best. Sharing your fitness journey with someone else increases your commitment. A workout buddy, coach, or fitness community can provide encouragement and hold yourself accountable. So, this is what I do for my work, being a coach. This is something that I do. It helps to have somebody that can hold yourself accountable. Like I mentioned, I've had a business coach before that has helped me hold myself accountable for what I do in my business. That's another thing. Like it really helps to keep you on track when you have somebody there to hold you accountable. Again, you don't have to have a coach. You can have somebody who you work out with normally, somebody who can help support you. Maybe it's a friend or family member. You can do that as well. So there's many different things that you can do to help you stay on track, to help you stay motivated and accountable. So balancing short-term wins with long-term goals. So again, example of long-term goal would be run a marathon in a year, lose 30 pounds over 6 months, and build overall strength and endurance. Values of short-term wins, completing a weekly workout plan, losing 1 to 2 pounds in a week, increasing your plank time by 10 seconds. So just sort of understand here, this is just sort of overlaying a little bit about the difference between how we are creating long-term goals versus short-term goals. And keep in mind that short-term goals stack. The more that you do those short-term goals consistently, for example, like when we're talking about running a marathon, the more that we do consistent running throughout our workout routine, the more that we're going to get closer to that overall goal of running a marathon. The more that we focus on working out, completing a weekly workout plan, or including strength training and cardio in a routine, the more we're going to get to losing 30 pounds over 6 months. So these goals connect to each other. So the more that you focus on the basics of the small habits and the daily goals, the more you're going to reach those long-term goals. So just sort of understand the difference between balancing those two and how those two are interconnected. So this should be the last point that I'm going to go over. Again, I know this live stream has went on a little bit longer, but I do want to go dive deeper into some of these topics that I'm discussing because I feel like it's very important to sort of really get into detail on how to clearly accomplish these things that you're wanting to accomplish. So, tracking non-scale victories. Non-scale victories are defined as achievements unrelated to weight or the scale. So, this is kind of going into the aspect like when we talking about personal best. So, running longer distances without fatigue, lifting heavier weights or completing more reps, lower blood pressure or improved cholesterol levels, better sleep quality or energy levels, consistently hitting workout goals, making healthier food choices effortlessly. These are still victories, even though they may not seem as significant as accomplishing a big goal. It's important to recognize these as victories themselves. They're accomplishments, they're personal best. So be sure to, write down these things whenever you accomplish them. It can help to sort of be aware of these accomplishments. And the more that you journal, the more that you track, the more you're going to be aware of these things. And you may also feel it too, like better sleep quality, consistent, in hitting workouts consistently, as well as just choosing healthier foods easily. Like that's another accomplishment in itself. Alrighty, guys. So that's pretty much all I have for you today. Again, I know this went longer, and I'm trying to make these a little bit more, not going too far into detail, but I do want to sort of dissect these topics a little bit more than I have in the past, and sort of give you a little bit of brainstorming and a little bit of being able to sort of identify what needs to be changed, being able to understand, sort of what you should do when it comes to accomplishing those goals and learning how to adapt. So I do want to mention what Wayne has posted in the comments here. He said, your open and honest description of your own strengths and areas for improvements is refreshing and inspirational to those of us who have unrealistic expectations. Great live stream. Thank you, Wayne, for that. Again, the reason why I I believe it's very important to be really open and honest, especially for me as a coach, because I myself am having to hold other people accountable. And I think it's important for me myself to own up to anything that I do. I'm really the type of person who is focusing on practicing what you preach. I think that's important. I think being a coach is, if you're going to set the standard of coaching people, if you're going to set the standard of, trying to help people in that way, you need to practice what you preach and you need to be honest and open about what you're doing. And that's my main focus is to, a lot of coaches, again, now I'm not saying anything bad about other coaches, but it does seem that a lot of coaches really focus primarily on the appearance side of things and primarily focus on the physique side of things. And my whole approach to fitness is a little bit different. Yes, I think it's great to have a good physique and a good appearance. But I think it's important to really know the other side of things, to know how to, overcome specific barriers, learning how to, you know, focus on your nutrition and focus on, how it's bettering your health. Again, physique is important, but I think it's really important that we understand these things. Like, if I'm wanting to accomplish a goal, I want to understand how to get there. I see a lot of coaches and guys that, they may post their physique and this and that, and that's great. It's great that they're accomplishing those goals. But, if I'm offering that service and I perceive myself as coach, I want to be able to say, okay, this is how I did it, and I don't want to just, try to get my ego up just because of posting pictures. I want to share with other people how you get that. And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent there, but it's one thing that I think the fitness side of things, or I guess the fitness industry as a whole, should focus more. Yes, it is great to get that appearance, but I think it's very important to know a lot of the health side of things, as well as how this betters your overall, how you feel about yourself, your overall quality of life, that sort of side of things. And that's my main focus. Again, I know I went off a little bit on a tangent there, but that's just really how I see, when it comes to fitness. Um, but thank you, Wayne, for sharing that. I'm really glad that you found this helpful. Again, I love talking about these topics. I love discussing these things. And I try to make these as clear cut and not confusing to understand. But if you have questions, feel free to let me know. Again, my website is bponlinefitness.com. I do have my contact information on here as well. If you're interested in learning more about online coaching, or if you have questions in general, feel free to let me know. This live stream will be posted to my YouTube, so if you do miss it, of course, it will be posted there. So next Wednesday, I will have another live stream posted. I'm working on getting that presentation built out and ready to go. But I'm going to be talking about strength training once again in this live stream. And I'll share what that topic is in particular, but it will be focused on strength training. So we're going to transition back to that in this next stream. But thank you guys for taking the time to check this out. I hope that you find it helpful and valuable. Again, if you have questions, let me know. But I will see you guys next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, it'll be the day before Thanksgiving on our next live stream. So thank you guys for watching.